So let's get into this thing, man. First off, you have to think about this. The only love that will always reciprocate to you positive energy, self positive energy, respect, and consideration is self love. You loving yourself is the only love that you can trust. You can't trust the love of your parents. You can't trust the love of your children. You most certainly cannot trust the love of your spouse. When I say trust it, you can't trust it to last forever. You are the only one who can love yourself from birth to death. No one else is guaranteed to do that. When you think about not prioritizing yourself, it means you don't view yourself as the most important thing in your life. So even as a parent, you have to view yourself as the most important thing in your life, because if you view your children as the most important thing in your life, how can that be when you're the most important thing in their life? So it all circles back to you anyway. You must prioritize yourself and remember that you are the most important thing in your life, because let me tell you something, man. You can lose everything. The biblical story of Job, he lost everything but himself. Lost his family, lost his land, lost his wealth, lost his cattle, lost everything. And then he lost his friend because they were trying to tell him, hey, man, just go ahead and blame it on God, man. Blame it on God. Just go ahead, make God mad and take yourself out. He lost everything. But you know what he didn't lose? Himself. Now, he could have kept all of that stuff, but the moment you lose yourself, it's over. How can you not be the most important thing in your life? How can you not come first in your life when you are the only thing that's necessary for your life? Nothing else is necessary for you to live. No, everyone else can come and go as they please, and it won't affect the air you breathe. But the moment you leave, it's over. So it makes no sense to ever prioritize anything else over yourself. Secondly, you can't get so comfortable with the accolades you get from other folks for putting them first that you don't realize that it's fool's gold to put them first. If you're a man with a family, how can you put your family before yourself when you're the glue that holds the family together, when you're the one that creates the environment for the family to thrive? See, we're going to start off with some of these deep emotional attachments that we have, because these emotional attachments are the things that make you forget to put yourself first. How, as a man, can you put your wife first when she may leave next week? You may get served with papers next week. You may come home next week and everything is gone. How can you put your children first when they don't put you first? And think about it. From the time they're small, the only thing they care about is themselves. We train that out of them. We train the power and strength of selfishness out of our children. We tell them, no, share with everyone. You got to share. I like to teach the world to be a good guy just like me. That's what we teach them. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? We teach them that. We teach them to be friends with everybody. We teach them to get along with everybody. We teach them that it don't matter what you got. You ain't better than nobody. Everybody's the same. Everybody's equal. But see, everybody's not equal. The saying that all men were created equal, that don't mean that all of us are equal when we become adults. That means that we all come into the world the same way. We all come into the world with the same needs and the same, need for protection and need for care and need for love and need for feeding and need. We come with all of that, but that don't mean we all equal. So the problem is your parenting is what taught you that you can't put yourself first. Don't prioritize yourself. You guys around here talking about, man, you got to leave some, you got to leave. Listen, man, the word of the Most High says, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, not to your children. You leave an inheritance to your children's children, which means you must prioritize yourself because you have a huge responsibility. See, you can teach your children how to do what you do, You can funnel them into the business. You're going to leave the business. They're going to make money while they're alive, but their children is who going to need the head start. You got to look out for them because you don't know what your children are going to be able to do. You got to think generations ahead. So how can you not put yourself first when you got to be responsible for people that probably ain't even here yet? Depending on what age you are, you ain't got no children yet. Some of you ain't even got no children yet. Put a 1 in the chat if you know somebody who got sick and was in the ICU and somebody was laying in the bed with them the whole time while they had all them tubes coming out their body, while their life was hanging in the balance. Put a 1 in the chat if you know somebody who went to prison and somebody said, don't worry about it, I'm going to do this bid with you. When people say, my wife did that bid with me. No, she didn't. Your wife was out here living in the real world. You did that bid by yourself. She wasn't doing no time. She was out here eating free world food, moving and grooving whenever she wanted to. Wake up when she wanted to, go to bed when she wanted to, watch TV when she wanted to, cook food when she wanted to, go out when she wanted to, take a trip when she wanted to, go shopping when she wanted to. She was doing all of that. She might have came to see you. She might have bought you see you sometime. She might have been there waiting for you when you got out. But she was already out. We have to stop believing the foolishness of people being as important to us as we are. Am I saying people can't be important in your life? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but nobody should even come close to the importance and significance that you place on your own self in your life. See, let me tell you something. The most stressful thing in the world for a man is compromising your manhood, compromising your spiritual man. Because your true manhood is based on spirituality. You understand what I'm saying? Being able to resist that temptation over there, that's what a man does. Being able to not go down that wrong path, even though it seems exciting, that's what a man does. Being able to stand on principle, even in the face of the greatest enemies of principality. You are a man when you do that. But when you compromise that, what happens to you is you start to not believe in yourself the way you did. You start to not champion yourself the way you did. Because everything you stood for that made you believe in you, when you start to compromise it, you lose that belief in yourself. And if you lose that belief in yourself, you start having the desire and a need to believe in someone else. You start having the desire and a need to have other people be important in your life. And before you know it, you're prioritizing those people. Before you know it, you've jumped off the mission that God put you here to do, and you focus on what somebody else wants you to do. Before you know it, you've jumped out of the life that you were building for yourself, and now you're building a life that somebody else wants. Before you know it, you have jumped out of the spiritual space that you need to be in order to stay focused on the goals that you need to have, and you have jumped in an emotional space, and you are being led by someone who is taking advantage of your propensity to be trapped in your emotionality. Worrying about losing everything you worked for because you don't think you should prioritize yourself, because you think that someone has come into your life that's equal to you, because you think someone has come into your life and you should be in a 50-50 situation, because you think that someone has showed up and you should, view them as, your better half. I want you to think about the terms that husbands use when they say my better half, the queen. Let me tell y'all something, man. You have to understand that the stress of compromising your manhood, man, it drives men to drink. It drives men to give up on life. It drives men to abuse substances. It drives men to do a bunch of things. It drives men to lose focus. It drives men to stop taking care of their well-being. It takes men to stop thinking about health as well. It makes you do a lot of things because you don't love yourself anymore. Why? Because you don't know yourself. You can't love yourself if you don't know yourself. You can't love yourself if you don't know yourself. You're lost if you don't know yourself. And when you start to change from who you truly are into what somebody else wants you to be, you don't know yourself anymore. And then you start putting other people's mission before yours. You start to doubt your mission because you don't remember how to work the mission because you're not yourself. All the skills that you develop over the years, all the spiritual astuteness that you develop over the years, all the wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that you develop over the years, you need that in order to pursue your mission in this life. But when you start to give those things up, when you start to replace your wisdom, understanding, and love and knowledge for, I love you, baby, my pretty little baby, you are going to lose out in life. There is no pain that comes from loving you and putting you first. The pain always comes from loving someone else and putting them first. I'm not saying you can't love people, but you should be limited in the amount of love that you can give because so much of your love is for yourself. When you think about this, when you think about the love you have for the Most High, when you think about the love you have for yourself, how much love you got left to give? I have a very small bit of love to give. So I have to be very, very, very considerate of who I'm going to give it to. So you know what I do? I just give all my love to the Most High and let him dole it out. When somebody thinks it, when somebody really believes that I love them, that's coming from God, not from me. That's why the emotional attachment doesn't set in with me. I don't want to deal with loving people. That's God's forte. For God so loved the world. He's the captain of love. He's the king of that, the champion of that. I'm not going to get in his way because I don't want to get myself caught up in nobody's emotional attachment. I don't play it. I don't trust it. I don't want it. I have a mission to do. And that mission requires me to put myself first. Always put myself first. No one will ever come before me. This is why men put themselves in a situation where they can potentially use. Why would any man go into a legally binding contract that guarantees you'll lose half of what you have when that business ends? Do you know that in legitimate business, when two business partners fall out, one of them buy the other one out? You can't just run your business partner out of there and say, man, you got to go. You got to buy him out. You got to buy him out. He gonna leave with a chunk of cheese. That's the only type of contractual arrangement you should purposely put yourself in. But when you don't love yourself, here's the thing about not loving yourself, brothers. When you don't love yourself, you need love from someone else. Now, am I saying people don't love you? No, I'm not saying people don't. But I'm saying if you love yourself, you don't need their love. You're not living for their love. I should, brother, have a song, Living for the Love of You. And all that I'm giving is for the love of you. You know what? Cold song, chill song. But the words, all that I'm giving, all that I'm living is for the love of you. Let me tell you something. If it ain't a song talking about the Most High, I ain't finna say them words, man, to nobody. Is he finna be the Most High or to myself? I stand in the mirror and sing that to myself. Otherwise, it's not going to happen because you have to prioritize yourself. Listen, man, listen. The moment you stop putting yourself first, you lose track of everything. You lose sight of all of your goals. You lose track of all of your steps. You lose everything. You cannot put yourself, because here's the problem, man. I want y'all to understand. I want y'all to know this. When you lose yourself, if you know somebody who ever lost themselves, I mean, somebody may have fell off track a little bit or fell off the wagon a little bit, but somebody who lost themselves, like a J, like a fiend. When you lose yourself like that, when have you ever seen somebody come all the way back from that? If somebody gets into drinking real, real heavy, when have you ever seen somebody come all the way back from that? Even if after a while they stop, even if they quit and they got these, I've been 5 years sober. But look at what it did to them physically. Look at what it did to them mentally. Look at what it did to them spiritually. So stopping don't mean you bounce back. Stopping means you got tired of not loving yourself. At some point, you get tired of not loving yourself. Some people do. Some people go on through the rest of their lives and still don't love themselves. And this is what you got to understand, man. You got to keep in mind that this life is, man, it's hard to build the life you want. You young guys, man, I want you to understand, and the OGs in here can tell you, man, it's so hard to build a life you want, man, because you look at guys, even when you look at guys who are successful, most guys only been successful for a few years. I'm talking about successful to the point where you can't take a loss that's going to put you in the hole. That type of success. There are very few people you come across who live that type of success. And I promise you, anyone who has that type of success, I promise you, does not buy fancy stuff. Even when you look at some of the man, you look at the billionaires, man, they don't buy that stuff. Look at it when they were millionaires, they may have, but in order to hit that status, man, you have to become frugal. And by frugal don't mean be cheap. Frugal means don't waste money on frivolous things. I got partners right now, man, drive Bentley. Been driving Bentley 10 years. Never bought one. Know what he does? Lease them. He leases them. You got guys talking about, man, if you ain't pay cash for the car, man, you out here paying cash, especially a new car. Man, you out here paying cash for a brand new car, man. Come on, you ain't got good sense. You have to understand, man, that this life is long and it takes a lot of years to build that type of stability in life. And every moment you spend prioritizing someone else, every moment you spend putting somebody else first, you are not building that life. You're taking away from that life. Why would you do such a thing to yourself? Why would you willingly take away from the life that you want to build? You don't have that time to waste. You don't have that time to waste. You got to think about when you get into a situation and you stop taking care of yourself. Like, what makes a man who takes care of himself get into a situation where he stops taking care of himself? It's feelings. You get into a situation where you have more respect for someone's feelings than you have for your reality. You care more about hurting someone's feelings than you care about your reality. That's why you can be a healthy man and get into a marriage and then have your wife feeding you 3 square meals of foolishness every day. You got pork bacon in the morning. You eating shrimp for lunch. And for dinner, you got some greens with ham hocks in it. And don't let it be Sunday dinner. You got ham hocks in the greens and you got pork chops for the dinner. Feeding you all this foolishness. And you can't not eat it because you are caught up in the emotional attachment of making someone happy. Listen, let me tell you something. It's not your job to make someone happy. I'm not a maker of happiness. If you ain't happy, then you need to think about your relationship with God. He's the giver of joy. He's the giver of happiness. He's the giver of all the spiritual astuteness and all of the peace of mind. I can't give you none of that. So I wouldn't dare waste one moment of my time trying to make somebody happy, man. When you're trying to make somebody happy, all you're doing is making yourself sad. You're taking the positive energy you need for yourself, giving it to somebody who can't even use it. They can drain it, they can take it, but it'll never turn their energy positive. So when I say prioritize yourself, I'm not just talking about walking around beating your chest saying, I come first. No, I'm talking about your spirit, man. You got to prioritize your spirit, man. That is the foundation of who you are. That is the strength that you use to overcome your obstacles. That is the strength that you use to resist your temptations. That is the strength that you use to not have to rely on people and rely on God. You have to protect that. I say all the time, man, if your wife loves you, she'll do what you tell her to do. Period. If that means she got to change her diet, that means she got to change her life, she got to change her hair, she got to change her clothes, she got to do whatever. That's what a loving wife does. But you think that because you have a loving wife, you're supposed to prioritize her. No, that's her job. That's her duty. You don't owe her any extra benefit for that. That's what she pays to be in your presence, to be in the position. And you have to look at everyone else in your life the same way. What are they paying to be in the position of having access to you? You don't prioritize them. They need to prioritize you. You're their connection to the Most High. And it's funny how I've known men who've had wives who've gone to church. These men were spiritually astute men. But when they met the woman, she was already a Christian going to church. She wouldn't stop. So now your wife is going to church and you at home doing your thing in a totally different way. She ain't even under the Sabbath day. And you know why you allow that to happen? Because you prioritize her and her joy and happiness. The moment you allow someone into your life that doesn't fit, you're prioritizing them. The moment you give up yourself continually to people that never give any positive energy back, you are not prioritizing yourself. The moment you become an enabler in somebody's life, you are not prioritizing yourself. The moment you change your behavior for somebody else's life, you are not prioritizing yourself. The moment you come in and try to be a savior in somebody's life, you are not prioritizing yourself. The moment you start to accept any label because of someone else's life, you are not prioritizing yourself. The moment you bring everything to the table to benefit somebody else's life, you are not prioritizing yourself. The moment you deal with someone who's not willing and able to follow your lead, you are not prioritizing yourself. Your spirit man has to stay clean. And so you cannot attach him to foulness. You cannot attach him to wickedness. I had a woman tell me once that the way we pray to the Most High is the same thing as witchcraft. I had a woman tell me that. I didn't get upset. I simply said, you know what? While the craft requires you to do this and that and all of these different, chants and all of that and all we have to do is live our lives a certain way and the blessings come. We don't have to, send any message out to the world or anything. We just live our lives this way. These blessings come our way. It's a little bit different. We don't have to call on the Most High to deliver us anything. He already just told us, hey, man, look, if you live your life this way, you don't have to ask me for nothing. I got you. I don't ask God for nothing. I ask for wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, and forgiveness. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge, forgiveness. That's all. Nothing else. Oh, give me this money. I need this money. Oh, Lord, help me be successful. I need this success. Oh, Lord, I want to be famous. I want it. Man, we don't do that. We don't disrespect the Most High like that. That's exactly. Famo said it best. That's the very reason when I'm talking, you can't talk. And when I ain't talking, you can't talk. You're a listener. Bro, they don't know him at all. They don't know him at all. When you go through the entire word, man, when you hear God talking to the people, he's telling the men the laws. He's telling the men of Israel, the elders of Israel. He's telling them the laws. He's telling them the statutes and commandments. Because as a man, you run your household the way that you're supposed to run it. And everybody in your household is under your rule and under your tutelage, none of your guidance. You got to start doing like the military, man. You got to, every morning, you got to have an inspection for correction. You understand what I mean? So I say this to y'all, man. Your will, drive, and determination to take the risk necessary to build the life you want takes so much energy, takes so much focus, takes so much willpower that you just don't have it left to prioritize anyone else. You can't do anything that's a waste of time. You're not guaranteed time. How you gonna waste some time that you ain't even got? It ain't your time. You don't know how much time you got. We ain't on our time. We on God time. All we could do is live. All we could do is wake up every day and do the best that we could do to put ourselves in a position that we know we're supposed to be in. And you don't do that by prioritizing someone else, by putting someone else before you. You will never get to that point by putting someone else before you. You got guys out here to spend the money they ain't got to spend, man, to keep a woman happy. They don't even have it to spend, but they spending it. Trying to impress someone. Let me tell you something. If I'm not impressive to you right now the way I am, then you're not going to be impressed. Prioritizing someone else will never pay off. Because let me tell you something. When you prioritize someone else, they start to view you as a fool. Because they know deep down inside they would never prioritize you. They know deep down inside they won't prioritize you. And you know what? They shouldn't. If they're not built to dedicate themselves to the process of your progress, they should not ever put themselves in a position where they have to prioritize you because they're going to lose. See, if you come into my life and you're in a position where you got to prioritize the process of my progress, the moment you don't, you're out. You're out. Like, listen, man, there's levels to this. There's access to me where it's not direct. Then there's access to me that's direct. And then there's access to me that's in person. There's levels to it. And by the time you let somebody have access to you in person, you better know who you're dealing with. If anybody around you expects you to prioritize them, you got to look at your life. If you feel comfortable prioritizing anyone around you over yourself, you got to look at your life. You got to look at yourself. You got to ask yourself, why you dogging your spirit man out like that? Why you looking at your spirit man and say, I know you've been guiding me. I know you're the reason I can make it through these things. I know you're the reason I make these proper decisions. I know you're the reason that I'm connected to the Most High. But I got to prioritize this person over here over you because they mean so much to me. Put a 1 in the chat if anybody has done more for you than your spirit man. Matter of fact, don't put a 1 in the chat. Don't even waste time with that question. Because I know you ain't going to put no 1 in the chat. You got to come first in your life, man. And it's okay to come first in your life. You're not a bad person because you come first in your life. You should come first in your life. You have to. Because your spirit man will start to perish if you do not prioritize. I'm not talking about when you think about it. I'm talking about every day. Your spirit man will perish if you don't prioritize him. It's your job to prioritize your spirit man. It's all of our jobs to prioritize our spirit man. Who are you if you don't prioritize your spirit man? Where are you from if you don't prioritize your spirit man? And see, here's the thing. How do you prioritize your spirit man every step of the way? You got to take accountability for everything in your life. You prioritize yourself by taking accountability for everything in your life. If you're not where you want to be, take accountability. If you don't have the money you want to have, take accountability. If you don't have the peace of mind you want to have, take accountability. If you don't live where you want to live, take accountability. Even if you don't drive what you want to drive, take accountability. If you're not in the shape you want to be in, take accountability. That's mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. Take accountability. That's how you prioritize your spirit, man. When you realize that you have to take accountability for everything, man, you on a mission. You ain't got time to play. You know you don't have time to play when you got to prioritize yourself. There's something about this expectation we have of people that if somebody can even fool us into thinking they meet that expectation, we feel like we should prioritize that person. We feel like we found the one. There is only one. In your life, that one is you. So stop limiting yourself to the validation of other people. You know how many men feel real good when their wife say, I got a good husband. I got a good man. You know how many men feel so good when their children say, I got a good daddy. When your homie say, you are my best friend. That shouldn't move you. Those people say those things about you because you prioritize yourself. You prioritize your self-improvement. You prioritize your self-development. You prioritize your self-love. You prioritize your self-respect. You prioritize your peace of mind. That's why those people think those things about you. That's why they have that understanding of who you are in their lives. They don't get no props for that. You do. You're the reason that your wife says that. You're the reason that your children say that. You're the reason that your friends say that. You're the reason that your workers say that or your boss says that, depending on what your role is at the company. If you're the worker or the boss, it doesn't matter in this particular scenario. I'm just saying that people view you like that because of who you are, not because of who they are. See, here's what you got to remember, brothers. You have to be your greatest inspiration. The life that you want for yourself has to be your greatest inspiration. The hunt for peace of mind has to be your greatest inspiration. The desire to have joy must be your inspiration. The desire to live a life that's pleasing to the Most High must be your inspiration. See how all of those things are within you? None of those things are outside of you, and none of them involve other people. People are important. You got to navigate this life. You need people on your side to navigate this life, man. You need that. You really do. But we're talking about down to the level of who are you going to put first in your life? And I'm going to be honest with you now. Everybody can't do this. Everyone can't put themselves first. Some people just aren't wired. They have to put somebody else first because they prioritize themselves based on their relationships. And if you prioritize yourself based on your relationship, you're going to prioritize yourself based on what somebody else's opinion of you is. You go on somebody else's validation of you. So you can't even prioritize yourself. You're prioritizing the image of you that they like. And that's more than likely not even the real you. So if you're not prioritizing your authentic self, that's not prioritizing yourself. If you're prioritizing the man that your wife wants you to be, then that's not prioritizing yourself. Prioritizing yourself is looking into the core of your being and finding who you are and deciding that you're going to elevate and motivate that person to continue to excel and exceed expectations in this life. That's all it is. You can say you put yourself first. Well, man, if I got a sandwich, man, I'm going to eat it myself. Okay, that's one thing. That's on a physical level. But what happens when you got to prioritize yourself on a mental level, on a spiritual level? What happens then? That's my point. So you got to think of it from this perspective. When you put God first in everything you do, you always ask yourself, what would I do if God was here right by me? If I was looking at God sitting in the passenger side of my car right now, what would I do? I would do everything according to what I've learned in the Word. That's the goal. The goal is to do everything according to what God says do in the Word. That's why, you can't do certain things because you know you shouldn't do them. And if you don't have the willpower to not do those things, you don't have the willpower to prioritize your spirit man. You got to protect your spirit man with your actions or lack thereof. There are certain things you can do to protect it. There are certain things you must avoid to protect your spirit man. But you must protect your spirit man regardless. And we live in a world where people are being taught to prioritize your relationships. What do they tell you? You can't be alone, man. You can't be by yourself, man. You got to be around people. You got to be the life of the party. You got to be around. That's what you're taught in this society. So to hear a kid say that, oh, I ain't got nobody to play with. But to hear an adult say that, man, I'm bored. I ain't got nobody to play with. Man, you grown. What you mean you ain't got nobody to play with? What we talking about, right? What you mean, boy, you ain't got nobody to play with? So I want y'all to understand, man, that in this life, it's our job to do our best to protect ourselves. And in order to do that, you have to live a life that's pleasing to God because sometimes what you're going to need is you're going to need God to be, you're going to need God with you all the time. But sometimes you're going to hit that spot where you ain't going to be able to do it on your own. And you're going to need to know that you've been living a life that was pleasing to the Most High. That's what you're going to need to do. And the bottom line is prioritizing other folks, putting other folks first is not going to afford you the luxury of doing that. GC, I see you, bro. I see you representing that Mod Squad. Salute to you. So listen, man, here's what I want to tell y'all. All of us have the propensity to be whatever we want to be in this life. But it takes you prioritizing yourself and that mission every day. You can't take days off from prioritizing yourself. You can't take days off from prioritizing the process for your progress. You can't take days off from putting yourself first. You can't take days off from focusing on the things you need to focus on. You can't take days off from resisting temptation. You can't take days off from not walking the path that everyone else is walking on. You can't take days off for not keeping the company of the wicked. You can't take days off from not doing everything in your power to live a life that's pleasing to God, man. That's what we must do. That's what we all need to do. I'm going to check that out, Famo. Famo says King Ray Ray Cash App got sent back, man. I don't know what's going on with that, bro. I don't know what happened, bro. I really don't. Let me check it out. I swear I don't know what happened, man. I'll check it out, bro. I'll check it out. I had to fix it, man. So, day one or one day? There you go, CAB. But look at here. CAB said something so dope. Day one or one day? There it is. They say some people in your life for a season. Man, everybody's in your life for a season. It just depends on how long that season is. See, when people say a season, man, they talk about winter, spring, summer, fall. That ain't what we talking about. We talking about a season of life. A season of life may last through 20 of those seasons. You did? Some people are in there for life itself is a season. Life itself is a season. When your season is over, it's over. And so what you have to remember to do, you have to always keep in mind that your life is so important to you that you would rather let people fall to the wayside, let them perish, than to compromise your life, because you can't do it. Because I promise you, no one you compromise yourself for will ever be in a position to compromise themselves for you in any beneficial way. All they can do is dedicate themselves to the process of your progress. So if that's all people around you can do, then you got to stay on top of the process of your progress. Otherwise, people around you can't even benefit you. I'm gonna make sure you can benefit me if you're around now. I'm gonna be dedicated to the process of my progress because I want you to have something to dedicate yourself to. That's what I want you to have. I want you to have something to dedicate yourself to, and that is the process of my progress. That's what I want you to do. And the bottom line is, anyone in your life who can't do that, they need to be gone, brothers. They got to be gone. And listen, I understand people have things that they need to do in their own life. Things they have to do in their own life. But that's cool. I'm not saying don't do I'm not telling anyone don't prioritize your life. But I'm saying if you're going to be in my life, then you got to prioritize process of my progress, cuz I ain't got room in my life for the process of your progress. I ain't got room in my life for that. So whenever you in my life, you got to decide whether you're gonna be over there, keep focusing on your own thing, or you're gonna dedicate yourself to my thing. It's up to you. Don't matter to me. I'm just telling you what it costs to be in my life. That's all I'm saying. Here's what it costs for you to be in my life. That's it. I ain't man, listen, man. I ain't draw down on nobody and say, look at him, you gonna get in my life right now. You gonna stay in my life. You did what you gonna do in my life. You gonna do what you got. Man, I ain't draw down on nobody and put no pressure on nobody to be a part of my life. But if you want to cross that threshold right there, this what you got to do. Everybody who crossed that threshold got to do this. Otherwise, man, it don't matter who you are. It don't matter what our relationship is. It don't matter how we related. It don't matter we family. It don't matter we blood. It don't matter who you are. If you are an adult, you must find a way to contribute to the process of my progress, because I ain't got time to be focused on nothing else. Nothing else. I don't have time. So here's the deal, brothers. I want y'all to understand. We have got to remember that we only got one life to live. And the more you spend going backwards, the harder it is to go forward. Let me tell you something. If you're constantly going forward and you got your motion, man, listen, you may not even go real fast, but you got constant motion. The moment you get stopped by something, or you allow yourself to be stopped by something, boy, don't you understand how hard it is to stop in the middle of a mountain when you already got your locomotion going? I mean, when you climbing that mountain, boy, you climbing that mountain, pow, you climbing it, you climb, you got your motion going, boy, you hitting it, and then somebody say, hey, and you turn around, you stop. Now, you got to start all the way back over again. Now, you just hanging there. See, as long as you're moving, you ain't just hanging there. That's what you got to understand, man. You got to keep moving, because if you allow something or someone to stop you in the middle of climbing your mountain, you may not ever get started again. That's how serious I want y'all to understand this is. You may not ever be able to get started again if you let something stop you, if you let something push you to the wayside, if you let something control you, if you let something blind you, if you let something draw you in, if you let something attach itself to you. You may not ever be able to bounce back. You'll do like Lot wife, turn into a pillar of salt when you look back. It's full speed ahead. The locomotion doesn't stop because you want to keep going until you can't go anymore. And the day that you can't go anymore, it's the day they put you in that box. Listen, man, we're going to go ahead and slide on out of here. We've been in this thing for a minute. Been here for a minute. Listen, man, I appreciate y'all being in the building. My brothers, Famo, appreciate you, bro. GC, always good to see you in the joint, man. Appreciate you as well. BOA fan girl, appreciate you being a fan. So let's keep going, man. Let's keep doing our thing, man. Listen, we gotta keep it real, man. I see Logic, man. Logic before emotion fell through the joint. Appreciate you being in the joint, man. CAB fell in the joint. Rhythm of Water TV showed up in the joint. Salute to you, man. Salute. Make sure I ain't miss nobody else, man. I think we got everybody. Adrian Rodriguez fell through the joint. CAB showed up in the joint. Salute, man. Salute to you guys, man. I appreciate y'all being in the building. Royalty showed up in the joint. Salute to you, Royalty. I see you, man. Let's get ready to slide on out of here, man. We gonna y'all put God first, man. Keep grinding and growing. Peace.